Pretty recently, I beated the story of Jack 3, and yeah, now I can talk about it, thank God. It's honestly something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, because for the longest time, I've always wanted to play the Jack and Daxter trilogy, so finally doing that on original hardware, it's interesting. Like, I finally scratched the itch, and I can see why so many people love these games so much. The gameplay and the controls are still top tier. There is a great amount of variety in the missions, whilst also not dragging things out, and also the mid-level checkpoint is a fucking godsend. I never thought I'd be so happy when a mid-level checkpoint actually popped up when I died. It's like, oh my god, if Jack 2 had that, I'd be on cloud 9. Maybe someone can make it a PC mod. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Gameplay-wise, extremely solid. Story-wise, is where I feel it's a bit of a step down from Jack 2. To make a Star Wars comparison, which it's the Return of the Jedi of the trilogy, where everything is great, but there are just these little things that bring it down ever so slightly, such as in Return of the Jedi's case, the reusing of the Death Star. With Jack 3, it's a little bit more complicated. Kira gets completely shafted in favor of Ashlyn, Kira gets voiced by Tara Strong, and there's this one part of the story which I feel like could have been better with another draft, such as when Ashlyn asked Jack to come back to Haven City to help straighten things out, and Jack rejects her, saying that they're all dead to him. But then, like, a couple missions later, he ends up going back anyway, so that was basically for nothing. Like, if I were to write it, I would have had him go, Ashlyn, there is some shifty shit going on in this desert. I'm gonna figure that out. These monk people are giving me some bad vibes. There's a giant fuck-off star getting closer. So I've got to figure all this out before I can come back to Haven City. And then he comes back to Haven City once he's at least somewhat figured it out and realized it's connecting to Haven City. It's definitely a story I think that should have had another couple months in the oven. This was the last game the original heads of Naughty Dog worked on before leaving the company, and whether you view that as, like, you know, them leaving as for better or for worse, that's completely up to the eye of the beholder. I'm just glad that the game is as good as it is, despite the circumstances. The villains are a bit better than Jack 1, but not on the same level as Jack 2. Jack 2 just had this presence with the Baron where you always felt he was there in the background lurking, you know, like with the propaganda and whatnot. It does a really good job at building Baron Praxis up. With Errol and Viger, you really don't have that, like, same kind of energy with it. It just doesn't hit the same, unfortunately. Despite Viger ultimately having probably the biggest impact on Jack's life thus far, which is kind of insane that they don't do more with that, and, you know, more in general with him. It's like this guy had such a big impact in Jack's life, but it doesn't amount to much, really. Like, he kidnaps Jack as a child during or just before the events of Jack 2, and somehow loses Jack at some point, and he ends up in the hands of the Underground. It's like, okay, a cutscene of that would have been awesome, like, but no, it just gets dumped on us in exposition. It's like, come on, Naughty Dog, fucking show us. It frustrates me to no end. It's like, I can think of so many ways to handle this, and yeah, it frustrates me as an amateur writer. It irks me ever so much. And it's been rattling around my brain for a little while now, and I've been gestating on it. It's like, God, if I were to do this, I would probably do it way differently whilst trying to maintain the core of it. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. However, if there was one villain I wish got more screen time, it would be Cyber Errol, because, you know, he's one of the previous villains from the last game, and he was already pretty entertaining as is, so it's like, and plus, honestly, I wish they really did more with him, because as a villain within the game, he feels very underwhelming. Like, here you've got this cybernetic man possibly gone completely mad, and it's really not played into that much. It's like, he doesn't have the same presence that Baron Praxis had. None of these villains really have the same presence that Baron Praxis had, because, like, it's kind of hard to top that, because Baron Praxis had such a presence through just everything in general within Jack 2. Like, you could feel his presence. Same with Metal Core, for example. He was kind of like the secret bad, and I really wish they did play up Errol more. because as is within the final game, he feels very underwhelming. I'm honestly kinda disappointed. Despite all my shortcomings with the story, it is a great time. It is genuinely a great time, and honestly, if you can play it, it's probably the best of both worlds between difficulty and accessibility within the Jack series. It's not as, like, say, easy as the precursor Legacy, but also it isn't as ball-crushingly hard as Jack 2. So, it's the best of both worlds, and everything it brings to the table in terms of gameplay is amazing, and I can't help but recommend it enough for that. It's just the story in places mildly drives me insane. I used the Return of the Jedi comparison, and I think it's probably the most accurate way to describe Jack 2. A lot of what it brings to the table is great, and there's a lot of good in it, but there are just these things that just make it from being the perfect experience. It isn't The Empire Strikes Back, and it isn't A New Hope. It's kind of like this weird mishmash. And that's honestly the best way I can describe it. This has been Lucky Candy. Peace out.